Welcome to the Unwarranted podcast. We're going to be getting into the
Let's get it.
awesome book that we brought up, Ego is the Enemy. Yeah, it's an amazing book. Just had to recenter, but yeah. First question, just before we get into the book, what place in life were you when you first read this book?
Jeez, that's it's a great question. It's a great question. That's something I want to give you props for too. Man, you come up with a lot of great questions to start the show off, man. And it's actually very, very impressive. I would say the place in life I was in when I read this book was following a car accident and having a pretty solid year in business, um, but at the same time drinking every day. So this book hit me right in the heart when I read
Mm,
it because I was my ego was what was fueling me during that time period. It was fueling me. It was the only thing I was living off of, feeding off of, which is how I felt about things. My coach had to fly in from Jersey to Michigan. Sat out with me
mhm.
after a BBS in which I walked across stage, yeah, wearing Cartier glasses and basically trying to prove how well I was and doing other things. But yeah, my coach had to fly in from Jersey and say, "Hey, bro, it's okay to just relax. Like, hey, humble yourself."
Right.
So I definitely was in a point in life where I needed to read this book. Now I'm passing the book on to you.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
don't mind answering that question, when you got the book, what place in life were you in?
I think I was, just mentally was just in a like no man's land. So the book really added some like perspectives to day to day life. Just with some of like the interactions you're having, like at work with people, with family, and mentally, like what you're thinking, like in your mind when you're having these interactions and when you're out doing things. So that book just kind of altered how I went about that thought process. It wasn't like grand difference in like the action I was taking, but more so a big difference in where my mind was when taking those actions. After
Mhm.
coming to this book, but
What perspectives do you think? Um, what perspectives do you think opened up for
I mean, uh, what perspectives?
you? Yeah,
Just. The ego is an entitled. The ego is the
yeah,
enemy. You gotta
yeah.
know how to, put your ego down for whatever. It could be anything. Just stop being so egotistical. Just at work, inside your house, with your family members, with your siblings. Stop thinking you're better than someone. Stop thinking, um, and not that I was not that I was that kind of person, but mentally it was like, if you didn't rock with me, or if you like, tried to like shit on like, what I believe in or what I believe I'm gonna do, in my life, like yeah, that definitely had a sense of like, oh, well, you'll just be broke. And like I hope
Yeah,
life is nice when you're broke.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but and that's obviously not the right mindset. From that I learned from this book and many others that really kind of brought me into that headspace.
Yeah.
Um, this book in particular, just really dredged out the ego side.
Yeah.
The part that you don't really pay attention to. But if you're like, you know, if you got a big ego, you probably don't even know.
Facts.
Because it's like
Facts.
it's just you're just being you, and the more people who speak against it, it kind of feeds it even more that I'm just more right.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, that's definitely what I got out of that. Um, but before we get into it, I also wanted to say, who would you suggest read it? Like what age group, kind of person?
Yeah. Um, man, it's one of those books. Having to attach an age group to it definitely.
Yeah, I didn't actually put down age. I just put who would you suggest read it, but
Okay, I got that.
you know,
I got you. Who would I suggest? Who would I suggest reading this book?
mm,
All people who plan to aspire to something in life.
mm,
Um, all people who plan to aspire to something in life. I really love the way the book is broken down um, into three parts: aspiration, success, and failures.
mm,
You know, um, and I think it's good to even address, especially when we talk about like the egoistic entity book. I think it's good to address the same way the author addressed it in the book. Who are we to talk about this book? You know what I'm saying? Who are we to tell you that, like, hey, lower your ego? Your ego is
right,
actually the reason why you lose at everything that you do.
mm-hmm,
The exact reason why you lose at everything that you do. Everything you've aspired to do before and having completed, your ego is the reason why you failed. Who are we to kind of tell people that? You know what I'm
right,
saying? And
yeah,
the I think they were one of the best people to explain it. Out of the fact that at one point we had to lower our own egos to get out of a bad
mm-hmm,
situation, to get ourselves out of a bad spot in life. You know what I'm saying? And to
yeah,
really, really minimize the ego,
yeah,
to really understand, like, hey, you know what? Like, man, that landlord situation, not going well. Not going well at all. You know,
right,
it's not like, hey, I'm not paying this guy. Man, this guy is like, all of a sudden, he's real hot, real temperamental, real angry because somebody else isn't necessarily, coming up with their portion of it. Or now he's trying to put his past tenants under the same restraints as new tenants who's actually paying him. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And to actually have to minimize your ego in that moment and say, even though I'm paying you, you're mad at this. Hey, let's sit down and actually talk about this. Let's sit down and actually move forward. You know, um, so yeah, and even then, just other situations financially. How am I coming at the end of the year and I'm having one of my best financial years ever, but I've spent everything that I made, every dollar. The same amount that's made is also spent.
mm,
And, and dropping your ego in the moment to not look at the fact of how much money you made, but how much money you blew off, and say, I need to do better the next year.
right,
And actually mean it and actually do better. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Um, so I just think it's good to kind of address that, especially whenever we're talking about like ego is the enemy. Because I'm sure
mm-hmm,
this will be a part two book and a part three book, maybe, depending on how our conversation flows with it. But yeah, for sure. Whenever talking about this book, you have to check your own ego to make sure you're not even lending it to someone because you feel like, hey, you need this more than I do. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Or I just want to feel good about me giving this book to you and it helping you. And you know what I'm saying? You coming back and saying, man, I'm glad you gave me this book because this book has changed and it's only fueling my ego of how I feel about myself, how I see myself. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
So coming from the most humbling spot possible, I believe this book is definitely good to all those who aspire to anything in
hey, that was nicely worded. um, yeah, and I agree 100% with that. I think a good starting point would be to just briefly say like one like the meaning of ego, which is like self-importance, you know.
life.
And did you know that the ego is the Latin word for I,
Yeah. Mm.
So obviously that just kind of goes, right into that normally people who, starting everything off with I and everything about themselves. And, that's kind of where, I think for people just listening, you can just look at your vocabulary, look at, how you look at yourself and, a level of like self importance, thinking you're more important, thinking you're, God's gift to this earth,
Yeah.
Um, and that's just where you kind of, where that ego can be dredged up, you know. What makes this book just honestly one of one. I haven't really read many things similar to it. Um, a lot you could take away from it. I'll kick us off around. Had this one jotted down: is patience and purpose.
Mm,
All right. He said in the book, when we are young, or when our cause is young, I like that. We feel so intense passion, like our hormones run strongest in our youth, that it seems wrong to take it slow. This is just our impatience. This is our inability to see that burning ourselves out or blowing ourselves up isn't going to hurry the journey along. Purpose is about pursuing something outside yourself as opposed to pleasuring yourself.
yeah,
I feel like it's a great place to start because, for me, like that right there. I go back to those high school days. I go back to, where it felt like the energy burnt the highest, right?
yeah,
And but that's exactly where he was saying, it's also when you're the most impatient, you
yeah,
know, the least understanding, I mean, I had jobs with people, I mean, they call me cocky, right? They say like, oh man, you're being so cocky, all because I was doing my job better than you know.
mm,
Um, but that's where that self worth comes in, self importance. You think this place won't run without you? You think, what I'm saying? You think, any of this, what I'm saying, can go on without you? Because it can't,
yeah,
realistically. And you have to, learn to take it slow, man. I mean, that passage in itself is just a big one for that. Learning to take it slow, understand that you want to have that young like energy while also having the older like wisdom,
yeah,
you know. And that's where patience and purpose, right? You start to bring it together.
yeah,
And like you said at the end there, purpose is about pursuing something outside of yourself,
yeah,
opposed to pleasuring yourself, right?
mm-hmm,
So that's when you come to the fact of, all right, what are some of these pleasures in life that are swaying you from your purpose in life,
mm-hmm,
right? The extra couple hours of Netflix when you could have went for a walk, you know you could have picked up on that book, Ego is the Enemy, and you could have bettered yourself. Yet you let a few hours go by. Now you're going to sleep. Now you're going back to work, and then you wonder why. And over those next few months, it's like nothing's changing in your life. And you wonder why in the next few years, nothing's changing in your life. But we continuously make the small decision of more pleasure
yeah,
than more purpose and getting more attuned with your purpose.
yeah,
And I mean, he spoke on it a lot, obviously, throughout this book. Just the arrogance of just feeling like everything revolves around you.
facts,
The arrogance of feeling like you can't go through something hard, that you can't get the short end of the stick and still keep the job.
yeah,
That you have to leave because that person got something that you felt like you deserved.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. That's what I said too. To start this off, man, ego is at the root of every problem, every
Mhm.
circumstance in your life. I even put these questions out. Why you can't win? Um, why you need to win all the time? Why you don't seem to have what you want? You know, a lot of those questions, all the root of why you don't have any of those things is because of ego. And
Mhm.
to the whole goal of the book is for you to think less of yourself
Mhm.
after. And this isn't coming from an author that's just an author.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's coming from a man who's a prodigy, coming to Ryan Holiday. Mind you, he has two other books I'm sure we're definitely going to discuss. And Stillness is the Key and Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah.
Um, but it's coming from a person who had was a prodigy coming up. Vied to from mentors, powerful people. Ran the why is that fashion brand not coming to my mind right now? Was it American Apparel? That's what it was. American Apparel. American Apparel. I was like, man, I can't. I'm not thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want to say it. I don't want to discredit the person's path and like put it out there and it'd be like something that's not true. So let's just say that he was in a very he was a very he was a very important player um, at 19, 20, 21, 22. So this isn't coming from somebody that's just telling you, hey, judged based on history, this is why you need to think less of yourself. This is someone who actually had to go through pitfalls, circumstances, and understand the best thing you can do is think less of yourself. You know, and
Yeah,
that's what he says in the book. The goal is for you to think less of yourself, be less invested in the story you tell about your own specialness. As a result, you'll be um, likened enough to accomplish the world changing work you set out to achieve.
man. And that's so real, I think it's almost like weird when you actually start doing some of that.
Yeah.
Like, you ever try to talk to somebody and just get to know them without trying to talk about you? It's almost like they don't even know how.
You
You
know
know
my
what I'm saying?
background.
No,
Yeah,
seriously, you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? But
No,
like,
seriously.
like, you know, I just be talking to like a new person. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's almost like if they're not used to like highlighting anything about themselves, it's it's like you're pulling a straw. It's like you're trying to like pull hair.
Yeah,
Because they're just not used to doing that. And then you have a person that's obviously on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And a lot of life is you start to realize like life is kind of like a spectrum.
yeah,
And it's a lot of people at the beginning and at the end of that spectrum, but it's not many in the middle of it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but I feel like that middle is where you kind of have a balance.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of life is a balance. It's a personal balance. It's not my balance ain't your balance. Your balance ain't my balance. So it's like it's a personal balance that you get to,
yeah,
because we all have our own just things. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have someone that's an alcoholic, for example, and he's just an alcoholic. But the way that person's an alcoholic, I have anger problems. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
To the point where I had to just learn that, okay, my emotions are my emotions. You know what I'm saying? But you don't ever let that become the main thing,
yeah,
right? Just like, man, alcohol. Maybe that person just really likes it, but you gotta learn not to make that become the main thing. And like, people say like addiction is real, but me personally, I feel like any addiction is real. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
absolutely.
when you have an addiction to losing your cool, it's just as hard for that person to learn how to control their emotions as it is for you to stop drinking.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But that takes a lot of that ego because it's you telling yourself that you're not doing something that's harming you.
yeah,
It's you telling yourself that this is they're the problem,
yeah,
that you're not the problem. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? In those scenarios.
yeah,
And it's not just your ego; it's those around you too. Because it's wrong if I'm going to sit there and be like, man, the way that you were yelling at that person, like, man, that guy is so wrong for you coming at you like that. Now, but in the situation, you started it, right?
yeah,
So, when we have our egos down, I can sit there and say, hey, man, I'm not saying Buddy was right, but you definitely had to take it there with him. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like, and that's just like,
Being
like
able
just
to
to that
take
point
your
that you were
friend.
saying,
That
yeah,
happens in life. Sometimes you're out with the boys, a situation happens and it's like, somebody starts something in your circle, someone starts
hmm
something, you're there, you have no choice but to have that person's back in that moment. But then the second you guys get away from the situation, everything's figured
yeah,
out. Hey, yo, that was wild. Yo, you
hmm
was like, yo, you was stupid for that. Like, don't ever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, yo, that's yeah, that wasn't a smart move on your end, especially. But yeah, just yeah, agreeing to your point.
man. Because when you're sitting there, like with ego for right? It's like I saw something on like Instagram. It was like, man, that guy's so poor. All he has is money.
Mm,
Man, because what are the greatest gifts in life? And I'm not. Yeah, that's a rhetorical question.
yeah,
The greatest gifts in life are the things that God gave you.
Yeah.
that you never asked for. You never asked for your right mind. You just got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
see some people walk around crazy. You never asked for right mind. You just got it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You never asked for your limbs. You was born
Facts.
with them. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
You didn't ask for, the sight that you have, the sound that you hear, the taste that you taste, the smell that you smell.
Yeah.
You just got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to actually learn to appreciate something like that. Because those are life's greatest gifts, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of these things, like, I feel like and the reason I'm even saying this, because I feel like you can appreciate these things the more and more you turn down that ego, you know?
Absolutely.
And to my point before, why it's a balance. If I'm trying to do something, for myself, for my life, for, my personal gain, there's a there's a certain level of ego you gotta have. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Like LeBron's not LeBron if he doesn't have no ego.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he has no ego, he might just be a good forward off the bench, a good starting forward for some guys.
Yeah.
It takes some ego, you know what I'm saying, to propel
Absolutely.
you once you're in the room with other heavy hitters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's where it's a balance. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure if Brian sat here and talked to you about, the business, he wouldn't try to out tell you about your own business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But someone full of ego thinks that they could do anything and everything. You know,
Yeah.
better than the next person. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
That's something you say in the book, man. Taking competition out of life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not me versus you.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think it's great in understanding the difference between a healthy ego and an unhealthy ego. Um, yeah, I think it's important to know those differences. But even knowing that, it takes a certain level of humility for you to check yourself and know, hey, like I have an ego and it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? That's why he asked the question, like, when he's like, your worst enemy is your ego. And he's like, you know, in his point in referencing it is like, not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, your worst enemy is ego, well, not me. Do you want to be successful? Yeah, that's ego. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can understand that, but I don't think a lot of people, when we touch on the alcoholism part, that was very crucial because ego is just as deadly as alcoholism. The only difference is you're not passed out drunk every night. You know what I'm saying? But it's causing you to have delusion to a direct and honest approach about everything that's going on around you.
Right.
That is just like alcoholism. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why ego kind of oftentimes goes so far unchecked is because it can be disguised as confidence. And it can be disguised as confidence to those around you as well.
Yeah, I agree.
That is a problem. You know what I'm saying? If your ego is what's fueling you and in your delusion you believe it's confidence, have you accomplished anything? Is there anything that you have going on in motion right now in your life? Do you feel like you are the top dog in your life? Bro, that's ego.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Nah, yeah.
Like, and I put it like this. If ego is the voice that tells us we're better than we really are, then ego inhibits success by preventing a direct and honest approach to everything that surrounds you. To end that last point, and I feel like so that way you understand it because it is it's a tough read when you first read it. Truthfully, it's a tough read when you first read it because in order for you to fully take in the information, you have to realize, damn, like yo, I have a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so it's a bit of a tough read for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. I feel where it can feel like that. You know, I think it's based on the kind of person you are. You know what I'm saying? Where it just hits you like differently. If your ego's up there,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's tough. Like a lot of guys not walking around the ego up there because hell, it's just all up in here. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and that's why it's almost like it's like a blessing and a curse kind of thing. Like, you really gotta learn to control and curate that ego. But it's not a bad thing when you know you got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's actually worse if I feel like I didn't have no ego to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's kind of funny, man. They say a lot of the times, like very, very successful people all share common traits. And I feel this and can even relate to it in certain points. It said you have like an undying belief in a certain goal, a belief that you can accomplish it. And just as much as you have that belief, there's just another level of doubt that you have to match that belief and what you're trying to go for. But what stabilizes you, like what fully stabilizes you, is impulse control.
Mm.
So while you stay locked in on that goal, you also feel the same level of doubt. You stay steady the whole time in reaching the goal.
Mm.
And it's like, and I, you will never make it. A lot of people, I think, when it comes to ego, a lot of people have like pinpointers they want to point to. Kanye's, Steve Jobs. You know what I'm saying? People don't realize that in those people's greatest moments in which they accomplish things, their ego was put to the side.
Mm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when their ego was at its height and this and that, they didn't really accomplish much.
Yeah.
And he talks about that in the book with a lot of high achievers that people want to point to and say, what about this person? But what about that person? You know what I'm saying? And just as much as there are people you can point to, you can even say and disguise their actions as very egotistical, there's another slew, a whole country of failures of people who try to be egotistical. It's the reason why Alexander the Great didn't make it as far as he could have. You know what I'm saying? Because people got tired of him. They got tired of his ego.
Yeah.
And killed him. And his own people. But then you got people like, Genghis Khan, you know what I'm saying? Who's out there conquering like crazy, but what is he doing every step of the way that he's conquering? He's constantly evolving. They literally took everything they learned from each land they conquered.
Yeah.
Utilize it. You know how less of an ego you have to defeat someone and then take in their knowledge to better your cause.
I mean, yeah, you got the ego.
You
You know, yeah. That's a good point. I never knew that of Genghis Khan. Things I know about him are crazy.
He talk about it. He talks about it in another book. It's a Robert Greene book. Again, so many.
Yeah, that guy.
So much to cover.
He never built. He never built the empire.
Yeah, no, but
He just kept going.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, he had the largest. He amassed the most amount of land, but never like had like a home base. Like they just kept going like to the day he died. You know?
Yeah.
But no, that was a great point there. Um, man, something else that I really took from out of this book, man. I tied up this one, stillness,
Mm.
and it says it doesn't matter how talented you are, how great your connections are, how much money you have, when you want to do something big and important and meaningful. You will be subjected to treatment ranging from indifference to outright sabotage. Count on it.
Mm.
In this scenario, ego is the absolute opposite of what is needed. Who can afford to be jerked around by impulses?
Yeah.
Or believe that, it's going into what you're saying, or believe that you're God's gift to humanity, or too important to put up with anything you don't dislike, you don't like.
Yeah.
Up ahead, there will be slights, dismissals, little FUs, one sided compromises.
Mm.
You'll get yelled at. You'll have to work behind the scenes to salvage what should have been an should have been easy.
Mm.
All this will make you angry. This will make you want to fight back. This will make you want to say, I am better than this. I deserve more. And I think it was really important how he ended that.
Yeah.
Because how many times do people go to those words? I'm better than this.
Yeah.
Or I deserve more. But no one ever really brings up the fact of maybe,
Yeah.
maybe you are. I mean it sounds like you took that statement out of anger.
Mm.
You didn't make that as if you are so much better. You deserve so much more while you're even there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I just, this section,
Yeah.
it just highlights some of the main things that would just help you get better at life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is there will be slights.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will, and Manny, you'll definitely see this, as you continue to grow or have a family one day, get married one day, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Man, you will stand in some rooms where you were talked about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or your name, you could just feel the energy. You stand in some rooms where, like, hey, they speaking of me, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, you know who you are, you know what you do,
Yeah.
and it don't matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'ma still smile and shake everybody's hand here. You know, I'ma
Yeah.
still be me no matter what. Even though I know in my heart of hearts, y'all not rocking with me. Hell, y'all talking down on me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not only that to God, not me,
Yeah.
right? You know, the slights,
No, I mean, but that's if you
dismissals,
agree. I don't wanna
for
over.
real, hold on, one-sided compromises.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
learned that one early with my mother. How sometimes my dad would talk to me like, "Hey, you're just gonna do it like this. Like you got it." It took a while. That was my problem. I never been on drugs or anything like that. My problem growing up was I had that anger.
Yeah.
That if things didn't go my way, I had that anger about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If things was just like we're making something complex that is simple, it would just piss me off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it could just be this simple, but we gotta add in all this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I had to learn, like with my mother, like sometimes it's going to be a one-sided compromise.
Yeah.
Not only will I not get my way, I'm still going to do the things she wants me to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that could be your boss at work, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You might not get your way on this scenario,
Yeah.
and you do need to still just do your job. Because quitting without replacing or anything else in mind ain't always the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
now, hey, your bills coming up and all that, you made a completely impulsive man. What do you say up there? What do you say? I said it because he said it. What is who can afford
Yeah.
to be, it's like he knew, to be jerked around by impulses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
Because it costs you so much more in the moment to be right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he speaks on a great individual. John Boyd was his name, and he served in the military, but he was one of the best strategists that we had. And I'm gonna gloss over the story very, very quickly, because I don't want to do any disrespect to this man, but he was one of the best strategists that we had, and he had a great quote: "To be or to do." And I thought that was so powerful. It's coming from a man who's one of the greatest strategists we ever had, who got set down by the government and basically said, "Hey, you can come and work over here, where a lot of people aren't gonna really know who you are, and not gonna do this, but you're gonna accomplish so much great work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna accomplish so much great work behind the scenes, or you can continue moving forward on your path, and you're gonna do a lot of good stuff." You know what I'm saying?
And get the title.
And get the title and did this, but you're not going to accomplish nearly what you would achieve. But can you understand, like,
I think he said you wouldn't feel fulfilled.
literally, and can you understand how selfish one has to be? This person didn't write any books. Not that he couldn't have, I'm sure he could. He didn't write any books. He only did one essay. One essay. How selfish you have to be to know. They said that you put this guy on any field, anywhere, in 40 seconds, he would have you defeated based on his ability to strategize.
Man.
How selfless that person has to be to go away from that title and coach people who are the second coming of who he really is, and get no major credit for it. They talk more about leaders who lost in battles, and they talk about this guy. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're right. Yeah, but that's what kind of life you want to live. You want to live a life that matters to you, or that matters to everyone else. I think it's one of the quotes. I don't know if it's from this book, but I know you use it a lot. But would you rather be at peace with yourself and at war with the world?
Yeah.
Would you rather be at the war with the world? The opposite. At war with yourself and at peace with the world.
Yeah.
And trust me, you'd much rather be at peace with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, man, you talk about that, and that's something I definitely don't gloss over. Especially, having the platform that we have, man. You speak on being talked about in those other rooms. Yeah, that's real.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah, you think you don't gossip about other people, so people don't gossip about you. They talk about you like a dog, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they talk about you like a dog, bro. And you're doing good stuff though. You know what I'm saying? And you're actually out there putting up numbers. They talk about you like
You're
a
doing
dog,
good
bro.
stuff for people that matter to them.
Literally. Literally.
And yeah.
But do you know how uncomfortable that's? And I really want to speak on that because it's important that people know that, man, impulse control is what makes you a man too, as well, bro. When you're in those rooms and you feel that energy, and you know what energy I'm talking about. Yo, this is hostile territory. I don't know why it feels like this is hostile territory, but this is hostile territory.
Mm-hmm.
And you still have to move through that room like a dime and shake people's hands. You know what I'm saying? And you don't get nothing from doing this.
Not a thing.
They're laughing at you with a knife behind their back, waiting for you to slip up. You know what I'm saying?
Waiting, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Waiting for any leak in your foundation.
Yeah. And you may not gain the level of knowledge, understanding you need for you to make it to the next level unless you make it through that room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, that's real, bro. That's real. I feel like having a platform you have is important to tell people, like, hey, bro, if you plan to accomplish like anything, you got to be able to withstand it. It almost comes to territory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it gets to those facts of, I was talking to my nephew, and he had a little outburst at school, which led to a little back and forth with him and his mom. He's in his early teenage years now, and I'm talking to him. I'm just telling him like man, like he just reminds me so much of myself at that age.
Yeah.
It's almost scary how much he reminds me of myself. Just because I wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? Like mentally, I wasn't like good at those times. Like my ego was. It was just like a evil ego, just eating at my mental, always feeling like just the energy I had towards like my mother, my siblings, and other individuals in those moments. But I'm sitting there talking to him. I was just brutally honest with him, like you will never like I asked him, what do you think a man is? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just telling him, like, you will never be that with those emotions running wild like that. Like
that had to sit with him.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you think being tough, you being hard, being able to protect yourself, yes. Showing that unnecessarily is not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's really, really being a man is showing care. Showing, and you can control your impulses.
Yeah.
You can stand there in a situation and not get beside yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And because right now it's just a teacher. It's just your mom. But next thing you know, it's going to be a police officer and you being arrested.
Yeah.
And God forbid it be something serious. You know what I'm saying? That really gets you put away.
Yeah.
God forbid it be something serious that really puts you in a hole in life.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of guys, it's like you kind of hit a point where, like, you either from that point on learn how to be the other side of the spectrum, which is control your emotions, or you religiously live your life strictly off of your emotions, which is the craziest thing because those guys seem to want to be the toughest guys, but
Yeah.
they're the most feminine of all,
Yeah.
right? Because everything they do is similar to a woman, you know, which is everything in their life is based off of how they feel.
Yeah.
There's no logical decisions, you went, you got a scat pack because all you wanted was a scat pack. You didn't care that, you couldn't afford it. You didn't care that, you never paid child support. You didn't care
Mm-hmm.
that you didn't, you know what I'm saying? We go down
Yeah.
the list,
Yeah.
It's so many, every day, these guys making decisions like this.
Yeah.
These are the most impractical, and I don't even want to just say women, but we'll say like a feminine energy, feminine pole,
Yeah.
whereas you're not, you taking way too much logic out of your life, only moving off emotion. Even women have to have a balance,
Yeah.
but it's just, man,
Yeah.
it's probably the least masculine thing you could ever do, which is just be emotional. Be
Yeah.
not be emotional, but be carried by your emotions at all times. That be everything in your life,
Yeah.
all your decisions, everything you have was all emotional based. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? The house you live in, something that wasn't the best decision for you and your family. Like I said, the car, you wouldn't got this or
Yeah.
that car wasn't the best decision for you, your family, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And putting down the ego, think outside yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, does this help any of those around you too? Could you do something? Could this next thing you do benefit the others around you?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to always be like that. Sometimes you should be. Sometimes you can be. Think, you know what I'm saying? If you're only thinking about yourself, who's ever gonna think about you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, life is hard alone. It's
Yeah.
going to be very helpful if somebody else is praying for you too. It's going to be very helpful if somebody in their heart of hearts genuinely feels like the words that come out your mouth is what's going to come to reality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. So, but to receive that energy, you most likely have to give that energy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that was just, and I just really hope that that point really got to him because it's like it only gets more and more savage as you get older.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think for me, it didn't get under control until like 20. You know what I'm
Well, it's not
saying?
until you understand that being emotional about a situation is actually going to make the situation worse than what it really is.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like you can understand it though. Like
But then
like
the
when you're a
consequences are
young man, you're no fool. I know if I blow this nigga shit out, I'm going to get suspended. Like you know what I'm saying? We know that. I know when I get suspended, I'm gonna go home with my mother and get in more trouble. I know my mother tells my father, and you know what I'm saying?
yeah, but those consequences aren't as dire as I had a bad purchase. I just messed up my credit for the next 3 years. I can't even get anything outside of X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That hits you a lot different than I just beat up this kid in school, got suspended, went home, and
Right.
got in trouble.
But that's what it turns into.
But
You know what I'm saying?
but that's
Improper adult decisions.
and that's why I'm
You
glad
know.
you sat him down and you had that conversation with him. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because that's crucial though, man. Because a lot of times, especially when we're at that age, it's like, I just want to be. I want you to see me how I see me. And if you don't see me how I see me, I'm gonna make you see me how I see me.
Mhm.
Tell me that's not the truth.
Nah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But and I think a lot of what you said goes to this point when he says in the book, appearances are deceiving. Having authority isn't the same as being an authority. Having the right and being right isn't the same either.
Mm-hmm.
Being promoted doesn't necessarily mean you're doing good work, and it doesn't mean you're worthy of promotion. They call it failing upwards. Impressing people isn't utterly as important as being truly impressive.
I got that written down.
So who are you? Um, so who are you? Which side are you going to choose? Is the question that he poses.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
very real, man. It's very easy to impress people, especially if I know who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot different to be impressive. You know, like, hey, I didn't know you was watching. You was watching. You said you like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Didn't even know you was watching.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
It's the man, that guy just you know what I'm saying. You see guys just walk by you and man, got like he got his life together.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, buddy just looks impressive.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
It's and it's not just a financial or a material thing. Like I've told you, you know, like certain guy, like you know, like Ocho Cinco, like he's impressive to me because he's just him, and that's all you always are. You know what I'm saying? Like people who are themselves, the closer you are to a 100% your true self is impressive to me. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to hide you. Man, you got a wife, and she just like you for you.
Yeah.
You got children, they just like you for you.
Yeah.
You have, you know, close loved ones, friends, and all that. That, you know, your circle's small, but they like you for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And nobody's telling you to not be you. You know, and you're not trying to impress anybody. You're literally not trying to you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I'll give my son what he wants. You know what I'm saying? But like I'm not doing uh things just to you can have fun with me. You know, more than you have fun with your mom, right?
Yeah.
Because you know I know that's a thing for y'all, right? That's you wanna show out with your kid to impress whoever, whatever, not even caring about what the kid enjoys.
Yeah.
You just did that to just do it, to be petty, to be, you know what I'm saying? To, you know, but it's completely different when you just impressive by you just being you, and that's impressive. You know,
Yeah.
regardless of what you know, maybe this kid's dad or that kid's dad ever did, your kid was just like as ecstatic at your most basic thing ever. You know,
Yeah.
like maybe you think your job is boring, but your kid thinks it's like insanely cool.
Yeah.
You know, but that's just hey man, it's because you're walking your path, you walking your grace. You know what I'm saying? Like we say in this book, you're keeping your ego down.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be a better person. And mostly, you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, what's this show about? This show is about being a better you at the end of the day. You know, the books that we, you know, bring up, the guests that, you know, you'll eventually see that will bring on, everything that we're going to be about is being better for ourselves, you know, as an individual, as a man, as a son, as a brother, as a big uncle, as a big cousin, just being better, you know. And I'll give you this last quote from myself from out of the book that you know correlates with what I just said. But your potential, the absolute best you're capable of, that's the metric to measure yourself against. Your standards are not winning. Winning is not enough. People can get lucky and win. People can be assholes and win. Anyone can win, but not everyone is the best possible version of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, but you know that lie, you know, that hit for me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like even just in the reread, right? Like you set your own bar, right? And then let that be the standard. You know, if anything, you want to surpass that. You know, it's not just. It's kind of like you know, did I hit? If I needed $200, do I stop working when I hit 200, or do I stop at 300 just because I can get to 300,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just one of those things, man. Like, so you know, we all have to start setting ourselves to a higher standard for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the best I can be? You know, I could be a better person at getting up in the morning. I could be better at, you know, the foods I choose to eat. I could be better at, you know, the way I care for my mental, the way I care for my, you know, my day to day life or how, where I am mentally handling it, you know. Some of the simplest things I told you I started incorporating when we started reading these books is going for walks, you know. Just go for a doggone walk, man. Learn how to not have anything going on whatsoever, but embracing everything that's going on around you, you
Yeah.
know. And You know, I just feel like life could be a lot more beautiful for a lot of us. You know, especially the more we get in tune with that.
Yeah,
You have any closing remarks?
man. It's so unfortunate we're ending so shortly. I can't wait to get to part two for sure. Um, I wanted to relate to some of the points that you had just listed, especially the one you had on being impressive. Because I completely agree with that in terms of like someone who's being 100% them is truly impressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, so, so yeah, I definitely feel a lot of what you're saying, man. It's unfortunately I think so early. I got a few things I wanted to say.
Man, that football ran over a little bit.
Man, it got real. It got real. Funny part is we didn't even talk about no other team. Like, we took the Lions talk and like made it about everybody else. But no, you had some great points in that sports talk. So it was more than worth it. I'm not sure if it'll be considered behind the scenes anymore after that one, but man, no, it's a great book. It's a great book in closing. It's like I said, it's so unfortunate I don't get a chance to like list off a lot more of what. Um,
I mean, do your thing. Say what you gotta say. I mean,
but no, I will say this. 'Cause I thought this part was very controversial. And I think you might say the same. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts after this, after I finish this point, and we can for sure end it. Um, but he said, "Don't be passionate.
mm.
Don't be passionate."
Mm-hmm. I remember that part.
Yeah, he said, "Your passion uh, could be the thing keeping you back from power, influence, or accomplishments. Because just as others, um, because just as often we fell with, because of passion." How do you feel about that? 'Cause it's something else we definitely go to again after that, but just that part. Don't be passionate. Your passion could be the thing holding you back from power, influence, or accomplishments. Because just as often we fell because of passion.
Yeah, I think context matters. You know, with a quote like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got to divulge into the book to really understand what he meant by that. You know, because he's not saying don't have the
He's not saying don't
have passion.
He's saying
You know what I'm
don't
saying?
be
But like
passionate.
you basically, it kind of goes into like what I said before. You know, it's too many things on the spectrum on one end and not the other end, or on the other end and not the other end. Whereas life is mostly in the middle, where you have to have your own balance. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I would say?
But
I don't think if I hadn't had the 3 years of being in the same business, and I understand what that really meant when he said don't be passionate. At some point your passion is going to go away from you just because of how focused on thing you are trying to achieve something. Your belief and vision may keep you going and keep you motivated and keep at it, but you're going to lose passion for it at some point. And oftentimes passion is what fuels it from the get go. The second that passion runs out,
it's kind of like motivation.
And that's why he breaks down this analogy, and it's for anybody who's definitely listening. Like, if you take this and understand, if you see yourself in this, or if you've ever had this moment in life, because I for sure have. He said, start with a flash of inspiration. I want to do the best, and he said, I want to do the best and biggest blank. Be the youngest blank. The only one to ever blank. Obviously, you fill in those blanks. You know what I'm saying? So I'll read it again with your understanding that you fill in those blanks. You start with a flash of inspiration. I want to do the best and biggest blank ever. Be the youngest blank. The only ones ever blank. Okay, so here's what you need to do step by step to accomplish that. The reality, we hear what we want to hear. We do what we feel like doing. And despite being busy and working very hard, we accomplish very little, or worse, we find ourselves in a mess we never anticipated. Because we only hear about the passionate or successful people, we forget that failure shared the same trait.
Man,
I'll end it with that.
That that was a
I'll end it with
bar.
that.
That was a bar to
Yeah.
go though off of, man. Man, hold on. Say that last part again. No, say that last part again.
I got you. I got
You know,
you.
for the people in the back. You know.
Do you want me to start with the reality?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so the reality. We hear what we want to hear. We do what we feel like doing. Despite being very busy and working very hard, we accomplish very little. Or worse, we find ourselves in a mess we never anticipated. Because we only hear about the passionate or successful people, we forget that failure shared the same trait.
Mm. Yeah, let that sizzle in your spirit.
Man, man.
You know, oh
And
man.
honestly, to be honest with you, that's only the first 90 minutes of this audiobook. If you want to be even more specific, that's only part one, the adversity.
Yeah,
Or actually, is it, or
man.
that's
Oh, I'll tell you right now, all my notes are
to
like
inspire. That's part yeah,
pre page 90.
yeah,
I have no note written after page 90. I still read it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But like I just genuinely looked at the notes like I won't even say all of this.
yeah.
You know, and like the recording
I got
was
some quotes in there from
oh, like bro, oh man, hold on. I gotta
You
drop
gonna
that.
run them up?
Nah, tranquility. I gotta drop that Socrates note. I mean,
Oh, you're about
not Socrates, but this is tranquility. According to Seneca, a
oh,
Greek word how do you say it? Euthymia? I think it's
I don't
euthymia.
have it written
It's
down.
EUTHYMIA. I believe it's euthymia. Is one we should think of often. It is the sense of our own path and how to stay on it without eating distracted by all the others that intersect it. In other words, it is about beating the other guy. It is not about beating the other guy. It is not about having more than the others. It's about being what you are and being as good as possible at it. It's about going where you set out to go, about accomplishing the most that you're compatible of. Sorry. It's about accomplishing the most that you're compatible of in what you choose. That's it. No more, no less. By the way, euthymia means tranquility in English, right?
Yeah,
So, just in that, like why I even bookmarked that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it's just really telling you, man, like you don't worry about others. Don't worry about what his path or what he's doing or what that looks like. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Don't worry about what you're doing is going to save a billion lives, one life, or no lives.
yeah,
Right? And most importantly, don't worry about anything outside of if you're not at the point where you're doing what you do good.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like why do you want to leave your job and go to a new job if you're not even good at your job? You're just gonna be bad at the next place,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm.
Like seriously, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I'm sorry, you just brought up,
yeah,
that was just one of those main ones I had written down. Like, that's what I mean though, like
yeah.
so much, that you don't even get to go through just
Oftentimes.
because that book is just is packed full. A lot of these books are packed full,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. You're talking about the first 100 pages, first 150 pages,
Man, I
90
did
minutes of a
nothing I've
6 hour
written
audio.
down past page 9.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I just stopped there because it
yeah.
was like I don't at
Because
this
it's a lot
point.
to unpack, so much of
Yeah,
it hits you in your core
yeah,
that you have to learn from, and that has helped you on your journey that you can speak on alone for 2 hours. And then
man.
you also want to give a
The next best thing I could do is read it to y'all.
yeah.
Like,
No, straight up,
but
straight up, man.
we like to end our show in prayer. I did it last time. So Manny's gonna lead us in prayer on this one. And just before you start that, I just want to say thank you guys for watching us again. Thank you guys for the new subscribers. Thank you for the continued growth. Thank you for watching our shorts. I mean, honestly, I didn't expect anything, so I'm embracing everything and loving it. And at the end of the day, we're just two guys. We're humble. We're thankful, and we love God, man. So let's have this prayer, and thank you for joining another episode of Unwarranted.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. If you please bow your heads. No, but yeah, seriously, please bow your heads. God, come before you today to ask you to bless over all those who watch this podcast, who listen to this podcast. Bless those who not listen to this podcast, and ultimately just protect over us, keep us keep us from losing ourselves and our lack of control over ourselves. Um, Protect us, um, and yeah, I send love and blessings to everybody listening to this. Um, and I think the best way to finish off the prayer in whole is just tomorrow's a mystery. Yesterday was history, and today is a present. Today's a gift. That's why I call it the present. So God bless over us. In Jesus' name, amen, amen.
Amen. Amen.